Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and I'm back with another coffee talk. In my coffee talk videos, I sit down and chat with you in a more casual setting about a variety of topics. And considering we're now in February, the month of love, and I wanted to focus on self-love this month, I thought the perfect coffee talk subject would be, how do you actually learn to love yourself? And my personal experience on the road to self-love. So let's get into it. Before I jump into the chat, I wanted to thank my partner for today's video, Luisa. Luisa is an environmentally conscious, sustainable, and quality jewelry brand, and I absolutely adore their pieces. So all of the jewelry I'm wearing right now, except for my wedding ring and engagement ring, are from Luisa. I love that Luisa is very aware of their impact on the environment in the production of their jewelry. It takes 20 tons of earth mining to produce a single ring of gold. And that's why Luisa uses 100% recycled gold and sterling silver in their jewelry. Also, all their packaging is recycled, which is amazing. If you've been around here for a while, then you know that I am big on the environment. I really think it's important that we focus on conscious consumption and focus on sustainable shopping. So I really respect the effort that Luisa has put into their production chain to create beautiful, affordable jewelry that is also kind to the environment. Luisa pieces start at $49, and they do have fine jewelry options, solid gold, and lab-grown diamonds. I do think, as much as overconsumption has become so common, that there is something really tender and caring about making conscious, sustainable purchasing decisions for yourself. And there's just something so inherent in gifting jewelry that feels like love and adoration. And why wait for someone else to buy you jewelry when you can buy it for yourself, get something that you really want and will wear every single day, and put yourself first, even if you're not in a romantic relationship, or even if you are. Right now, Luisa is doing a promotion for 15% off for Valentine's Day, valid until February 10th. So if you want to treat yourself for Valentine's Day, put yourself first, buy yourself a piece of beautiful quality jewelry that is kind to the environment. I highly recommend checking out Luisa. There is a link in the description box down below for you to click and shop and get that 15% off discount. So with that, let's move on to the things that I think have helped me most in my journey to self-love. Now, I have to be honest, a lot of these things I did not learn on my own. I learned them in therapy, and I do highly recommend, if you are someone who is struggling with your self-worth, with self-esteem, if you're struggling with your mental health, therapy is amazing. I think everyone can benefit from it, especially if you are struggling to find true love for yourself. But I do know that therapy is not always accessible to everyone. And so in this video, I hope I can share a couple of the nuggets of wisdom that my therapists over the years have imparted on me and that have made a big difference for me in how I express and feel love towards myself. For the tiniest bit of background, I have always struggled with my self-worth. I am a perfectionist through and through, and if you're a perfectionist, you know that the person you're hardest on is yourself, and you find every tiny flaw and pick it apart. I also suffered from an eating disorder 6 years ago, and that really came out of a feeling of self-loathing, low self-esteem, and wanting to make myself perfect, and also in a way to make myself disappear. So I am intimately familiar with self-loathing and low self-worth. And honestly, I'm gonna get emotional, but honestly, if I think about where I was at 6 years ago, I don't think I ever would have believed that I would love myself as much as I do today. And I'm not perfect for sure. I still have a long way to go, and I definitely still am one to pick at my flaws and notice things that I think could be better. But I really have come such a long way, and I do think a lot of it is thanks to therapy and also the amount of time and effort that I have put into trying to rewire my brain and to actually love myself as I am. So I really do believe that the first step in truly loving yourself is to start to feel self-compassion. I think you need compassion for love in general. You need to be able to empathize with another person. You have to be able to hear what someone else is saying and feel for them, to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You need to be able to understand where someone else is coming from and to feel for them and to hold space for them in all of their imperfect glory and To me, that's what compassion really is. And I'm pretty sure that the first step for me in really truly finding a sense of self-love was when I decided to commit to learning how to feel self-compassion. So I'm vegan, a lot of you know this already, and for a long time I felt incredibly deep compassion for animals, which was why I went vegan in the first place, and I felt compassion for other people. I've always been very compassionate, empathetic, and emotional, but I wasn't able to feel compassion for myself. I didn't allow myself to feel compassion for myself. I was too wrapped up in the routine of beating myself up for any tiny mistake I felt I'd made. And it was actually an epiphany that I had one day shortly before I started my recovery from my eating disorder. I remember the first time that I realized that if every other living being on earth deserved compassion, that I did too. And that seems so simplistic and obvious, but it wasn't to me. I had never considered that I deserved as much compassion as other people and as animals do. And that was kind of my first true step towards self-love. I'm not saying it's easy. It took me years to truly feel compassionate for myself, but I really think that that is a first step you have to take. You have to learn to see yourself as a flawed human being with good parts and bad parts who deserves compassion, and you deserve compassion from yourself first. The next step is probably the hardest step, which is to fully open your eyes to the parts of yourself that you've been hiding from. All of us have that part, and some people it's bigger, some people it's smaller, but I truly believe that every single person has those dark parts of us that a lot of us flip-flop between pretending don't exist and beating ourselves up for them. And for me, being able to look at my flaws, these things about myself that I didn't like, mistakes that I've made in my life, things that I regret, and just look at them honestly, straight on, not avoiding them, and this is something therapy is great for, taking them in and accepting that they are as much a part of me as the good things I've done. It can be painful, it's hard, it can hurt, but I think it's really important because it just fully shows you who you are as a person in 3 dimensions, every part of you, the good and the bad. And once you've fully explored those things, you can work on the next step, which is also incredibly difficult, which is forgiving yourself for those things. Forgiving yourself for your flaws, forgiving yourself for your mistakes. And for a lot of us, forgiveness isn't easy, and definitely not for me. And there are still some things that I've done in my life that I am struggling to forgive myself for. But I do believe that it's important that we use that self-compassion and we look our mistakes and our flaws straight in the face and we work to forgive ourselves. Because I guarantee you that if the person you loved most in the world, your partner, your best friend, a family member, came to you and confessed these flaws and these mistakes, identical to your flaws and your mistakes, that you would feel compassion for them and that you would forgive them because you know that that is not the entirety of their being, that's one part of them, and that they are so much more good than they are bad. And it's definitely not an easy feat to turn that logic around and use it on yourself, but it is so important. And once you are able to forgive yourself, at least most of the way for most of the things that you've been holding a grudge towards yourself for, I think you'll find that you start to feel a lot more tender feelings towards yourself. You start to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You start to care for yourself a little bit more. And all of these feelings add up to a true sense of self-love. I don't think that you can circumvent the hard work and just arrive at self-love. I don't think that you can take bubble baths and paint your toes and arrive at self-love. I think that for a lot of us, it takes a whole lot of hard work and a lot of self-reflection to come out the other side. But I also think it is so worth it. Now, I'm not saying that self-care and traditional self-care are not important. I think it's totally important to take care of yourself. I think it's important to take bubble baths and get massages and do your skincare and read a good book and do all of those things. But I just don't think that those are enough to truly accept and love yourself if you are struggling with your self-worth and your self-esteem and your mental health, which so many of us are. I think they have to be a combo deal. The really hard internal work, the self-reflection, combined with the more physical realm of resting and eating well and moving your body and doing things that you love. Together, I think those things can really turn into a person who feels true love and appreciation for themselves and is able to put themselves first and take care of themselves in a healthy way. Even though I think that the self-reflection and the really deep work that you have to do to find true self-love is the most important part, it does take a long time. So in the meantime, practice your self-care, try to be good to yourself, use affirmations if they work for you, meditate, treat yourself to some beautiful jewelry just because you want to and you deserve to wear beautiful things that make you feel beautiful and happy. But also try to start some of that real deep exploratory work, either on your own or ideally if you can with a therapist or a counselor, because it really can be life-changing. So those are my thoughts today on self-love and the journey to self-love, the steps that I think are really necessary to finding true self-love. As I said, I'm not an expert. I am still on that journey. I think in some ways it's going to be a lifelong journey. But like I said, I've come so far in the past 6 years, and I don't think it would have been possible without finding self-compassion, facing my flaws and mistakes head on, and learning to forgive myself and love myself for the entire complex human that I am. I hope that this was interesting to you. I hope it was helpful if you are on that journey. I would love to know in the comments down below if you have any tips for working towards self-love, if there's anything that you've done or tried that has really worked for you. I want the comments section of this video to be the most positive, the most uplifting, and the most compassionate, kind place on the internet. Let's help each other work towards true self-love this February and this year and this decade. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to Ana Luisa for partnering with me on this video. Don't forget to click the link in my description box for 15% off your purchase from now until February 10th, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye, friends. I want to take a quick moment to thank my patrons for their support. Extra special thanks to our newest patrons, Ina, Maddie, Carolyn, Kimberly, Stephanie, Amy, Chantel, and Jen. Welcome each and every one of you to the squad. I'm so excited to get to know you. If you at home want to join the squad, check out the link in the card or in the description box down below. And if you're looking for something else to watch, I highly recommend you check out this video or this video.